Forget New Year, New You. This season is about slowing down, locking the doors, and cozying up at home with the one you really want to do nothing with. Your dog. After the holiday chaos, those quiet nights with a blanket, a podcast, and your pup feel like the reset you actually need. Ollie helps make those moments easier with fresh protein-packed meals made from real human-grade ingredients, so your dog can enjoy some quality comfort food too. Choose from 5 recipes and get a personalized plan for your dog's needs. Meals arrive perfectly proportioned with a scoop and storage container, so serving is fast and mess-free. And with Ollie's in-app on-demand health screenings, supporting your dog is easy, ensuring more cuddles for many years to come. Visit ollie.com/truecrime and use code TRUECRIME for 60% off your first box.
Hi, everyone. This is Jillian, and you are listening to episode 29 of the Court Junkie podcast. Today's case is one that I guarantee will have some sort of lasting effect on you, because it includes behavior that seems almost unheard of, behavior that's difficult to wrap your head around. It involves 2 teenagers whose unique relationship ends with the death of one of them and a charge of involuntary manslaughter for the other. 18-year-old Conrad Roy III had attempted suicide before. In fact, he had attempted it more than once. But each time before, when he had tried to drown himself in October of 2012, or when he had taken too many pills a few weeks after that, he had changed his mind and sought help immediately afterwards. But this time, in July 2014, things would be different. Conrad Roy III, whose loved ones affectionately referred to him as Coco, was born in 1995 to Conrad Roy Jr. and Lynn Roy, who was a nurse. He was the oldest of 3 children, with 2 younger sisters. Conrad grew up in Mattapoisett, Massachusetts, about 65 miles south of Boston. He was an honor roll student while in high school and played baseball, rode crew, and ran track. After he graduated, he earned his charter boat captain's license at the age of 18 from the Northeast Maritime Institute. He had spent years working with his father at his family's marine salvage business in the New England area. Conrad's parents had gotten divorced in 2012 when he was 16. He and his siblings spent half the time with their mom and half the time with their father. Conrad was experiencing anxiety issues and depression, which his mother would later say were exacerbated by the divorce. He went through various programs to help. In September 2011, he entered a partial day hospitalization program, and in 2012, he entered another treatment program. But, at least to his family, by the summer of 2014, Conrad appeared to be better. They had no idea that he was still talking about wanting to end his life, not to them, but to someone he had befriended in 2012, a 17-year-old girl he had met while on vacation in Florida, a girl named Michelle Carter. Michelle was born in August 1996, and she had her own issues too. She had developed an eating disorder at a young age and reportedly told friends that she had started cutting herself in high school. At the age of 14, she had gone on antidepressants and attended counseling at McLean Hospital. Conrad and Michelle had met in Naples, Florida, but had discovered that they actually only lived about an hour away from each other in Massachusetts. Conrad lived in Mattapoisett, while Michelle lived in Plainville. Conrad and Michelle had a relationship that may sound unique to many of us, but normal to perhaps a younger, more digital generation. They communicated mostly via text message, sending thousands upon thousands of text messages and Facebook messages to each other over the course of their 2-year relationship. They had only met in person a few times. Michelle had heard Conrad talk about wanting to harm himself many times before, and she always encouraged him to seek help. On June 19th, 2014, Michelle texted him and said, "But the mental hospital would help you. I know you don't think it would, but I'm telling you, if you give them a chance, they can save your life. Part of me wants you to try something and fail, just so you can go get help." Conrad responded, "It doesn't help. Trust me." Michelle wrote, "So what are you going to do then? Keep being all talk and no action, and every day go through saying how badly you want to kill yourself? Or are you going to try to get better?" Conrad said, "I can't get better. I already made my decision." Although Michelle had always seemed to want to help Conrad, something changed in the following weeks. Instead of trying to talk him out of it, as she had before, she not only listened as he pondered about different ways to kill himself, she helped him come up with ideas. On July 7th, 2014, they discussed how to kill yourself using carbon monoxide. Michelle wrote, "Well, there are more ways to make carbon monoxide. Google ways to make it." Conrad responded, "OMG." "What?" Michelle asked. "Portable generator, that's it," he wrote. Their conversations continued, and Michelle started actually encouraging him to do it. At one point, when Conrad expressed doubt about the generator working, she asked him if there were any at his work that he could go and get. He replied, "Yeah, probably, ha." And she wrote back, in all capital letters, "Go get one." On July 8th, 2014, she texted him, "So are you sure you don't want to kill yourself tonight?" Conrad wrote back, "What do you mean, am I sure?" Michelle wrote, "Like, are you definitely not doing it tonight?" Conrad responded, "I don't know yet. I'll let you know." Michelle wrote, "Because I'll stay up with you if you want to do it tonight." Conrad wrote, "Another day wouldn't hurt." And Michelle responded, "You can't keep pushing it off, though. That's all you keep doing." And for the next week, she continued, sending him messages that said, quote, "There is no way you can fail. You're strong. I love you to the moon and back, and deeper than the ocean, and higher than the pines too, babe, forever and always. It's painless and quick." And quote, "You're going to have to prove me wrong because I just don't think you really want this. You just keep pushing it off to another night, and you say you'll do it, but you never do." And quote, "See, that's what I mean. You keep pushing it off. You just said you were going to do it tonight, and now you're saying eventually." End quote, "You better not be bullshitting me and saying that you're going to do this and then purposely get caught." And on July 11th, Conrad texted her, "I'm just too sensitive. I want my family to know that there was nothing they could do. I am entrapped in my own thoughts. Like, no, I would be happy if they had no guilt about it, because I have a bad feeling that this is going to create a lot of depression between my parents and sisters. I'm overthinking everything. Fuck. I gotta stop and just do it." Michelle responded, "I think your parents know that you're in a really bad place. I'm not saying they want you to do it, but I honestly feel like they can accept it. They know there's nothing they can do. They've tried helping. Everyone's tried. But there's a point that comes where there isn't anything that anyone can do to save you, not even yourself. And you've hit that point. And I think your parents know you've hit that point. You said your mom saw a suicide thing on your computer, and she didn't say anything. I think she knows it's on your mind, and she's prepared for it. Everyone will be sad for a while, but they'll get over it and move on. They won't be in depression. I won't let that happen. They know how sad you are, and they know that you're doing this to be happy, and I think they will understand and accept it. They'll always carry you in their hearts." And later, Conrad wrote, "I don't know, I'm freaking out again. I'm overthinking." Michelle responded, "I thought you wanted to do this. The time is right and you're ready. You just need to do it. You can't keep living this way. You just need to do it like you did last time and not think about it. And just do it, babe. You can't keep doing this every day." Conrad responded, "I do want to, but like I'm freaking out for my family, I guess. I don't know." Michelle wrote, "Conrad, I told you I'll take care of them. Everyone will take care of them to make sure they won't be alone, and people will help them get through it. We talked about this. They will be okay and accept it. People who commit suicide don't think this much, and they just do it. The next day, early in the morning at 4:19 a.m., Michelle sent a message to Conrad saying, "You can't think about it. You just have to do it. You said you were going to do it. Like, I don't get why you aren't." Conrad wrote, "I don't get it either. I don't know." Michelle wrote, "So I guess you aren't going to do it then. All that for nothing. I'm just confused. Like you were so ready and determined." Conrad responded, "I am gonna eventually. I really don't know what I'm waiting for, but I have everything lined up." Michelle wrote, "No, you're not, Conrad. Last night was it. You kept pushing it off, and you say you'll do it, but you never do. It's always going to be that way if you don't take action. You're just making it harder on yourself by pushing it off. You just have to do it. Do you want to do it now?" Conrad wrote, "Is it too late? I don't know. It's already light outside. I'm going to go back to sleep. Love you. I'll text you tomorrow." Michelle responded, "No, it's probably the best time now because everyone is sleeping. Just go somewhere in your truck and no one is really out there right now because it's an awkward time. If you don't do it now, you're never going to do it. And you say you'll do it tomorrow, but you probably won't. Tonight, love you." A little while later, Michelle again asked him if he was going to do it. Conrad said yes, but he asked if he should do it during the day, which Michelle said yes. She wrote, "Go in your truck and drive in a parking lot somewhere, to a park or something. Do it like early. Do it now, like early." Conrad responded, "Didn't we say that this would be suspicious?" Michelle wrote, "No, I think night is more suspicious. A kid sitting in his car turning on the radio. Just do it. It wouldn't be suspicious, and it won't take long." Conrad then told her that he isn't sure why he's being so hesitant about it. He wrote, "Like, why am I so hesitant lately? Like 2 weeks ago, I was willing to try everything, and now I'm worse, really bad, and I'm not following through. It's eating me inside." Michelle told him, "You're so hesitant because you keep overthinking it and keep pushing it off. You just need to do it, Conrad. The more you push it off, the more it will eat at you. You're ready and prepared. All you have to do is turn the generator on and you will be free and happy. No more pushing it off. No more waiting." Conrad told her that she's right, and she said, "If you want it as bad as you say you do, it's time to do it today." Conrad agreed, and Michelle wrote, "Okay, I'm serious. Like you can't even wait till tonight. You have to do it when you get back from your walk." They continued to go back and forth about it, with Conrad continuing to tell her that he's hesitant about doing it and that he's freaking out for his family. Michelle reassured him again not to worry about his family, that she'll make sure they're okay, and she asked him to promise her that he will do it today. He promised. Later that day, in the early afternoon, Conrad went to the beach with his mom and his sisters. They would later say that they didn't notice him acting any differently. He and his mom walked along the beach and talked about Conrad's future and even had lighthearted conversations about people's swimsuits. He went to the parking lot to use his phone a few times because he wasn't getting good reception. But what his mom and sisters didn't know was who he was texting and what it was about. It was Michelle again. Conrad told her that he was determined, he was ready, and she said that she was happy to hear that. She wrote, "Good, because it's time, babe. You know that. When you get back from the beach, you've got to do it. You're ready. You're determined. It's the best time to do it." Conrad said he would. When Conrad returned home from the beach, he texted Michelle that he was home, but that he was stressing. Michelle wrote, "You're fine. It's going to be okay. You just got to do it, babe. You can't keep thinking about it." Conrad wrote okay, and she wrote, "I believe in you. Did you delete the messages?" Conrad said, "Yes, but you're going to keep messaging me." Michelle wrote, "I will until you turn on the generator." Conrad then told her that he was going to take his sisters out for ice cream and that he would do it when he got back. He texted her when he arrived back home and told her that he was again procrastinating. She told him that it was time, and he agreed. At about 6 p.m., Conrad told his mom that he was going over to his friend Ariana's house. She asked if he would be home for dinner, and he told her that he didn't know. She asked him to keep her updated. Conrad got into his black pickup truck and drove to the Kmart parking lot in Fairhaven. He texted Michelle after he left his house and wrote, "Okay, I'm almost there." At 6:28 p.m., Conrad called Michelle, and they talked for about 43 minutes. At 7:12 p.m., Michelle called Conrad, and their phones connected for 47 minutes. Conrad's phone was never used again after that phone call. The next day, on July 13, 2014, after his mother had reported him missing to the local police, officers found Conrad's body inside his truck, parked in the Fairhaven Kmart parking lot. He had used a combustion engine to fill his truck's cabin with carbon monoxide. Officers discovered Conrad's cell phone tucked inside his waistband, and when they looked at it, they discovered text messages between Conrad and Michelle that made them want to investigate his suicide further. Conrad's mom was driving in her car when she got the call that Conrad's body had been found. Michelle, whom she had only met in person once before, and whom she had never really talked to, sent her comforting text messages, letting her know that she had loved Conrad very much and that she wanted to help in whatever way she could. Michelle also took to social media and wrote on Twitter, "Such a beautiful soul gone too soon. I'll always remember your bright light and smile. You'll forever be in my heart. I love you, Conrad." As the days went by, Conrad and his family laid him to rest. Michelle went to the funeral with her mother and introduced her to Conrad's mom. Later, after the services, Michelle created a Facebook event page for a fundraising baseball tournament in Conrad's memory. She wrote, "Hey everyone, as some of you already know, my boyfriend, Conrad Roy, recently passed away on July 13th. He suffered from mental illness and depression. Conrad's death was a wake-up call for me. I want to speak out to fight the public stigma and to give a clearer picture of what mental illness is all about. Even though I could not save my boyfriend's life, I want to put myself out there to try to save as many other lives as possible, and if I can, through my experiences, shed light on a way out of a difficult situation that I know so many people are going through, then that is what I need to do." Meanwhile, the detectives investigating Conrad's death knew that they needed to talk to Michelle. They went to her high school in Plainville, Massachusetts, and questioned her. Michelle told them that she had intended on reporting Conrad's suicide plans to his mom, but that she couldn't because she didn't have his mother's contact information. She told them that she was unknowingly talking to him during his suicide, and when their phones disconnected, she didn't think much of it. But Michelle's phone, and Conrad's, told a very different story. In February 2015, Michelle was arrested and charged with involuntary manslaughter. The grand jury had found that there was sufficient evidence that Michelle caused Conrad's death by wantonly and recklessly assisting him in poisoning himself with carbon monoxide. In other words, that Michelle's actions with her words had assisted him in his suicide. While Michelle waited to go on trial, the media got a hold of the text messages that Michelle had sent to Conrad that would be used as evidence against her. The outrage from the public was palpable. The Boston Herald ran a story on their front page with the headline taken directly from her text messages. "You just have to do it. It's now or never." Michelle's parents released a statement in response to the media backlash, saying, "Our hearts have and remain broken for the Roy family. For everyone that does not know our daughter, she is not the villain the media is portraying her to be. She is a quiet, kind, and sympathetic young girl. She tried immensely to help Mr. Roy in his battle with depression. We know that once all of the facts are released, our daughter will be found innocent. Michelle's attorney, Joseph Cataldo, attempted to have the case dismissed, asking a juvenile court to drop the case, arguing that Michelle's text messages were protected under the First Amendment and that Conrad had planned to kill himself even without her help. But the judge denied that motion and ordered that the manslaughter charge go forward, with Michelle as a youthful offender, a step above a juvenile. Her trial started in June 2017. She waived her right to a jury trial and instead opted for a bench trial, meaning that the judge in the case, Bristol County Juvenile Court Judge Lawrence Moniz, would be the one to decide her fate. In her opening statements, Assistant District Attorney Mary Claire Flynn said Michelle Carter pressured Conrad to kill himself and was even angry when he didn't do it. She made him promise that he would go through with the plan, she said, and he made good on that promise. Flynn said that after his final phone call he had with Michelle at 7:12 p.m. on July 12th, he never used his phone again. Flynn said the evidence will show that Michelle was a very needy person who craved attention from anyone, that she didn't have many close friends, that she would text girls at her school incessantly, trying to befriend them. In June 2014, when the school year was coming to an end, the defendant needed something to get their attention, Flynn said, and she used Conrad as a pawn in her sick game of life and death. Flynn said Michelle directed Conrad to tweet at her before his death, saying that she should be the last shout-out before he died, and that she told him to write a suicide note to her. Michelle then texted Conrad's mother and sisters in the weeks and months that followed, but she never mentioned that she was on the phone with Conrad when he died. She lied to them, Flynn told the judge, saying that she had done everything she could do to prevent it and that she had never tried harder at anything in her life. Flynn said that after Michelle confirmed that he had died, she posted it on Facebook, and the support rolled in. People texted, consoled her, and visited her. She was the grieving girlfriend. She also created a baseball fundraiser in his memory, and after she posted the event on Facebook, texted a friend, "LOL, I'm famous now." She became a self-described advocate for suicide, Flynn told the judge. Flynn said that when questioned by police, Michelle lied. She said she couldn't tell Conrad's mom about it because she didn't have her phone number, but in reality, she did. And she said that she was unknowingly on the phone with Conrad when he died, but her text messages to him proved that that was a lie. From July 6th to July 12th, Michelle had asked Conrad in excess of 40 times when he was going to kill himself. There is no doubt that Conrad had issues and had attempted to take his life in October 2012, but this time was very different, Flynn said. In July 2014, he had someone berating him day after day, beating him down and telling him he had no future. During his 2012 attempt, his friend called the police after learning that he had taken pills. Her behavior was wanton and reckless, and as a result, Conrad Roy is dead, she concluded. Michelle's attorney, Joseph Cataldo, opened by saying that this is a case of suicide and not a homicide. He said Conrad's history of depression and suicidal ideation caused his death, not Michelle. Conrad Roy was on this path to take his life for years, he said. He said Michelle tried for years to talk Conrad out of it. For years, he said, he told Michelle that he wanted to die and didn't want to get further inpatient treatment. He told the judge that Conrad had conducted online searches that included "make your death look like an accident," "quickest way to kill yourself," and cyanide. He said the facts will show that Michelle was going through her own struggles, her own self-harm and suicidal thoughts. He said that while at McLean Psychiatric Hospital, Michelle had told one of the counselors that she felt overwhelmed by her boyfriend's problems. Cataldo showed the court text messages, one conversation from June 2014, with Michelle saying, "I wish you could see yourself as I see you. Then you'd love yourself." Conrad responded, "You don't know me well enough. We've only hung out like 3 times. We should be like Romeo and Juliet at the end." Michelle said she'd like to be his Juliet, and Conrad asked her, "You know what happens in the end, right?" And Michelle replied, "Oh no, we're not dying." He said that Conrad was always the one bringing up the suicide until Michelle had a break while being involuntarily intoxicated by medications. Cataldo concluded by saying that Michelle was 30 miles away when Conrad decided to sit in his automobile. He said Conrad could have hung up the phone. He could have walked to Kmart for help. Michelle Carter did not cause his death. She was not reckless, he said. The first witness for the Commonwealth was Conrad Roy's mother, Lynn. She told the court about Conrad's background, saying that he had earned his captain's license in 2014, something he was really excited about, and was planning to work in the family business. She said she and Conrad's father got divorced in 2012 when he was just 16, and that he was sad about his parents' divorce, but never said anything about wanting to harm himself. She said he was experiencing anxiety and having trouble sleeping, which was exacerbated by the divorce. In September 2011, Lynn went with Conrad to get him psychiatric treatment at a partial day program. She said they put him in a different school, but then decided to pull him out of his sophomore year so he could go work with his dad, something that he had been looking forward to doing. In 2012, Conrad went with his father, his father's girlfriend, and his sisters to Naples, Florida, to visit an aunt. She heard that he had met a girl while he was there, Michelle Carter. In October 2012, Lynn brought Conrad to the hospital because he told her that he was having suicidal thoughts. He stayed in the hospital for about a week, and she said he seemed like he was getting better. But a couple weeks later, on October 27th, 2012, Conrad was admitted into another hospital. She said she was in her car when she got a call from an EMT officer telling her that her son had overdosed on Tylenol while at his father's house. When she asked Conrad why he had taken all of those pills, he said he couldn't give her an answer and that he was sorry. He was in the hospital for about 4 days, and she said that he was scared, and he told her that he would never do that again. He told her that he was so depressed. He was put on 3 medications: Seroquel, Trazodone, and Celexa. Lynn said she met Michelle in 2013 at one of Conrad's baseball games. Michelle came over and introduced herself, and Lynn said that she thought she was just a friend that he liked. She said they lived in different towns but seemed to text each other a lot. In 2014, Conrad never said anything about wanting to harm himself. In June of that year, Conrad told Lynn that he wanted to go see a cognitive behavioral therapist. In July, Conrad was still splitting his time between his mom and his dad. She said he was a little depressed, but that she thought he was doing great. He had graduated high school, gotten that captain's license, and she thought that he was moving forward. On July 12, 2014, the day of Conrad's death, she recalled how they went to the beach and said he seemed fine and that nothing seemed unusual. When they got home, she asked him to take his sisters to go get ice cream, and he did. Later that night, Conrad told her he was going to his friend Ariana's house, and a few hours after he left, Lynn said that Conrad's sister got a strange text message from Michelle.
Did you try to contact him later that night?
Yes.
And what time was that?
It was after 10.
10 p.m.?
Yeah.
And how did you try to contact him?
I just texted him and I asked him, when do you think you're going to be home?
Did he reply to your text?
No.
Was that normal for him?
At times. I mean, if he was, with his friends and just,
And what made you text him at that time, wanting to know where he was or when he was coming home?
Because Camden got a text message from Michelle.
And how did you learn about that?
Camden told me, she's like, I don't know what to say, Mom, because he's at Ariana's, and Michelle is saying that they're boyfriend and girlfriend now, and I don't know what to say. And I said, well, just say that he's at Dad's house, because you know how girls get, they get jealous.
Was that the truth?
I'm sorry?
Was that the truth that he was at his dad's house?
No, he was at Ariana's.
That's what he told you?
That's what he told me.
Did you ever hear from Conrad that night?
My son?
Yes.
No.
So at 5 a.m., directing your attention to around 5 a.m. the next morning, which is now July 13th, 2014.
I texted him again in the middle of the night.
What time?
I want to say it was about 1:30. I woke up. I had probably fallen asleep around 11. I woke up around 1:30 and his truck wasn't there. And that was not like him to not. The week before, he had a fire with Ariana. I think he came home at like 2 in the morning. So that's why I wasn't very shocked. But he never not came home.
Lynn said that at about 5:30 a.m., she drove by Ariana's house and started panicking when she didn't see Conrad's truck. She checked his dad's house and didn't see it there either. She called the Fairhaven police and an officer came to her house. She gave them Conrad's description as well as his vehicle information. She said she found out that her son had killed himself when Conrad's father called and told her. Lynn received a few text messages from Michelle after they had reported him missing. At 2:39 p.m., Michelle wrote, "Hi, just checking in. Any news?" At 8:13 p.m., another text from Michelle read, "I am so very sorry. Conrad meant so much to me. He was loved by so many. If you and your family need anything, please let me know. I can come by tomorrow to help comfort you if you need it. Please keep in touch. You're in my thoughts and prayers. He will forever be in all of our hearts." Lynn said that at Conrad's wake, Michelle was there with her mother. She introduced her mom to Lynn and talked about having talked to Conrad a week prior to the incident, but never mentioned talking to him on the night of July 12th. On July 19th, after the services, Michelle texted Lynn again and said, "You were so strong today. The services were so beautiful. I wish he knew how many people loved him. May all of our love and support keep you warm and strong. We love you, Lynn. I'll be over soon. I'll stay in touch." Another text from Michelle to Lynn read, "Whenever you start to miss him, go to the ocean. Look out across the water. No matter how far away in heaven he may be, the ocean is what will always bring you together." Lynn said that at no time did Michelle ever mention saying anything to Conrad before he died. The text messages continued through August. Michelle told her that she was going to organize a baseball tournament, Homers for Conrad, in honor of Conrad. She said the money would go to a suicide prevention awareness organization that she found, and that for every home run hit, some money could go into a scholarship in his honor. Lynn said Conrad wrote a suicide letter to Michelle that he had left in a notebook, and she read it to her over the phone after he died. The note was admitted into evidence at trial. The note read, in part, "Keep strong in tough times. You taught me how to be strong and carry on. This life has been too challenging and troublesome to me, but I'll forever be in your heart, and we will meet up someday in heaven. Put your best foot forward. You'll get there. I'm sorry about everything. I am messed up, I guess. I wish I could express my gratitude, but I feel brain dead. I love you and greatly appreciate your effort and kindness towards me. Keep your heart healthy and keep pushing forward." In the note, he also leaves her his bank account information and Apple passwords. Lynn testified that Michelle wanted to have the note and kept asking Lynn if she could come over and get it, but she said she had to give it to the police as they were investigating her son's death. She said that at the time, she didn't understand why the police were asking for evidence like that. Michelle texted her in August that she would come over and help her go through Conrad's things, and said that she would come get the letter too, whenever Lynn got it back from the police. At some point, Michelle asked Lynn if detectives were looking through Conrad's things, and she continued to ask about the suicide note addressed to her. Lynn said she went to the Homers for Conrad event on September 13th, 2014, the day after Conrad's birthday. There were about 6 or 7 teams, about 70 people, mostly all of Michelle's friends and family. Lynn said she wasn't ready for an event like that, but that she thought it was nice of Michelle to do it. On September 22nd, 2014, Michelle texted her, calling Conrad's death a bump in the road for Lynn's family. The last contact Lynn had with Michelle was later that year, in December 2014. The second witness was Fairhaven police officer David Correa. On July 13th, 2014, at about 2 p.m., he was dispatched to Lynn's home for the call of a missing person. He said Lynn was upset, appeared to have been crying, and was shaky. She gave him a description of her son and told him that he was missing. Officer Correa initiated a Be on the Lookout alert, or BOLO, to the surrounding areas. He also called AT&T and had Conrad's cell phone traced to try and figure out where the last position of his cell phone was. He tracked the location to a cell phone tower and began searching for Conrad. He saw a black truck matching Conrad's vehicle description and with the matching license plate in the parking lot of a Kmart. He walked over to the vehicle and looked inside. He saw a person leaning back against the headrest. He saw that the person matched the description and picture of Conrad Roy that Lynn had given him. Conrad didn't have a pulse and wasn't breathing. Officer Correa said that rigor mortis had already started. He was beyond medical help. There was a cell phone in the waistband of his shorts, and his keys were in the center console. There was a gasoline engine in the back seat, and the ignition switch to the engine was on, but it had run out of fuel by the time the officer had arrived. One of Conrad's sisters testified next. She said that she met Michelle in Florida, but didn't know that she and Conrad had started dating. She talked about how they had gone to the beach on the day of Conrad's death, and then out for ice cream. On the morning of July 13th, she got a text message from Michelle asking if they had found Conrad yet. They hadn't. Michelle told her to stay positive. The next day, Michelle texted her and said that she wanted to be there for them, and she asked if she could come over the following day. His sister thought that was weird, since she had never been over to their house before. 2 days before Conrad's services, when Conrad's sister told Michelle that he was going to be cremated, Michelle asked if she could have some of his ashes, which his sister found odd. We'll get back into the trial right after this quick break. I wanted to take a minute to use this ad space to talk about ads and to be transparent about them. You've probably noticed that Court Junkie has acquired some new sponsors over the last few episodes, so I wanted to be open about it and tell you why that is. I know ads can be annoying, especially when it cuts into the content that you're trying to listen to, but there's a very good reason that we as podcasters have ads in the first place. Someone in my Court Junkie discussion group on Facebook asked me about how long I work on each episode. And although I've admittedly never actually timed myself, I would estimate that it probably takes at least 40 hours per episode. There's a lot that goes into researching the topics, poring through the court documents, listening to relevant audio clips, and then trying to decide where they fit in, interviewing sources and then choosing the sound bites from that, recording a rough draft, making final edits, recording the final draft, sending it over to the producer, listening to the final version, and I'm probably missing a couple steps in there. But when I get advertisers for these shows, it helps literally pay my bills so that I can do this full time. And the advertisers, when they get a lot of traffic to their sites, will tend to buy ad space on Court Junkie again. So whenever you hear an ad from your favorite podcast, instead of skipping through it, please consider checking out their site and special offers. And one more thing, if you absolutely cannot stand the ads, I do offer ad-free episodes on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Just go to courtjunkie.com/support to get access to those. And now, back to the episode. Thomas Gamble, Conrad's best friend, testified next. He attended Fitchburg State in Fitchburg, Massachusetts, and recently graduated. He told the court that prior to Conrad's death, he had never heard of Michelle Carter before. In the summer of 2014, the plan was for Conrad to stay with him at Fitchburg State, about an hour and 45 minutes away, and then Conrad would enroll there in the fall. But after a few days, Conrad got homesick, and so he returned home. In August 2014, Thomas saw a Homers for Conrad Facebook page and saw that a girl named Michelle was running it. He contacted her because he was curious as to why the event was being held in Plainville and not in Conrad's hometown, Mattapoisett. He asked her who she was and why it was being held there. She told him that she's running the whole thing, and that's why it was in her hometown. When Thomas proposed moving it to Mattapoisett, where all of Conrad's friends and family were at, he said Michelle got upset. She wrote, "I can't change it. Like, I already have made it up here, and I have people advertising here and supporting it, and I'm sure everyone will come from your town. Like, this was my idea. I created it to be here." Thomas shared the Facebook event through his Facebook account, and Michelle messaged him, writing, "You're not taking credit for my idea, though, right? LOL. Thomas responded, "No, I'll credit you if you really want." Michelle wrote back, "Ha ha. Well, I mean, I am hosting it. Like, it's my idea. But you're like my co-captain now." Thomas told the court that she had made it clear that she wanted to get credit for it, that it was her idea. When Thomas asked Michelle how many times she had met Conrad in person, she responded, "I know what we had, and he does too. He was the most special and important person in my life, and he told me the same. He told me everything about why he killed himself and all that he was feeling. We were endgame. We both knew it. He didn't need to tell anyone that. I don't think anyone will ever understand what Conrad and I had so much. I don't expect you to either." Thomas said he attended the Homers for Conrad event, and a photo was shown to the jury of Thomas and his team, with Michelle standing in the middle. When asked to describe Michelle's demeanor during the event, Thomas described her as very happy. He said that right around the time he saw the event for Homers for Conrad on Facebook, he noticed that Michelle's Facebook page was filled with photos of Conrad that she had posted. A woman named Allie Ethier testified that she was a camp counselor during the summer of 2014 and that Michelle was a volunteer there. Prior to July 2014, she had never spoken to Michelle over the phone, but had been involved in a group text message with her and other volunteers and camp counselors. On July 12, 2014, the day of Conrad's death, Michelle started texting her, even though she didn't know her very well at all. She said she was surprised, but responded back to her. They began exchanging text messages throughout that day, and at 10:21 p.m., Michelle told her that she does have a boyfriend, but that he's going through a tough time. A couple days later, she and Michelle were texting again, and Michelle told her that her boyfriend had committed suicide. On July 16th, they were texting again, and Michelle said that she was on the phone talking to her boyfriend when he had killed himself and that she had heard him die. Allie said she was very concerned and suggested that Michelle talk to someone about it since she didn't know her very well. Michelle responded that she had a therapist already and that she had talked to her about it the day before. Allie said she saw Michelle at camp once after that, and she didn't seem to be acting any differently. Olivia Masalgo, another one of Michelle's friends, testified. She said they used to play softball together. They were friendly, but didn't really hang out outside of softball. She told the court that Michelle had an eating disorder and would often get sick. According to Olivia, Michelle would often complain that she didn't have any friends, was alone all the time, and that she told her that she would lock herself in her room and cry. Olivia said she knew about Michelle's boyfriend, Conrad, but never met or saw him. On July 13th, Olivia was with her boyfriend and his family when Michelle texted her that Conrad was missing. Later that night, Michelle texted her again, writing, "He's dead. He committed suicide." Olivia told her that she was sorry, and then she went over to Michelle's house with a couple friends. In the following days, she said many people were comforting Michelle and that she seemed appreciative. On July 20th, Michelle texted her again and told her that Conrad had told her that he was going to do it, but that she didn't believe him, that he always said he was going to. She said that night, when he actually did it, she couldn't believe it. She wrote, "I was talking to him on the phone when he killed himself, Liv. I heard him die. I just wish I had gotten him more help. I wish I could have called someone to stop him that night." Olivia heard about Homers for Conrad through Facebook and through Michelle herself. She attended the event in September with her volleyball team. She said a lot of the high school sports teams decided to go and support Michelle. The next witness was Lexi Eblin, who said she met Michelle in high school. She called their relationship an in-school friendship, but said that they texted each other a few times a week. She said Michelle was constantly asking her and her other friend Sam to do things with her, but she said they would tell her that they were working or had something else to do. In the spring of 2014, Michelle started texting her about her personal problems, including the fact that she was cutting herself as a form of self-harm. She said she never saw any wounds on her at school. Lexi said she became aware that Michelle had an eating disorder from rumors at school. Around July 4th, 2014, Michelle asked Lexi and Lexi's best friend Sam if they wanted to sleep over at her house, and so they did. Afterwards, a few days later, on July 10th, Michelle sent Lexi a text saying how grateful she was that they had come over and that they make her forget about her problems. Lexi said she doesn't believe she responded to that text message. Then later that day, she got another text from Michelle. Listen as Lexi describes their communications days before Conrad's suicide.
Then now, that same day of July 10, 2014 at 5:48, do you remember getting a text message about Conrad?
Vaguely, yes.
Can you read this one for me, please?
Conrad's missing. They can't find him anywhere.
Well, now, if you could skip to the next one, please, July 11th. Did you send her a text message?
Yes.
What did you ask her?
Did they find him?
And did she respond a few minutes later?
Yes.
What did she say?
Thank you for asking, but no, not yet. I'm losing all hope that he's even still alive.
And just for the record, this is July 11th, correct?
Yes.
Please read the next one at 10:59 p.m. Oh, strike that. Do you then just ask seriously, question mark, question mark?
Yes.
And how does she respond, please?
She says, yes, he's been missing since Wednesday night when you guys slept over. He hasn't called or talked to me or anyone since. I just don't understand. He didn't even tell me, like we were supposed to hang out today, and he knew that.
Had Ms. Carter mentioned to you during the sleepover at any other time when the last time she had physically seen Conrad Roy?
I believe it was a while before.
But in this particular text message, she's telling you they were supposed to hang out?
Yes.
On July 12th, 2014, at 9:24 p.m., the night of Conrad's actual suicide, and about an hour and a half after she had been on the phone with him while he was in his truck, Michelle texted Lexi again.
So I'm now going to draw your attention to the next day. For the record, July 12th, 2014, 9:24 p.m. Did you get a text from Michelle Carter?
Yes.
Please read it.
He called me and I heard like muffled sounds and some type of motor running, and it was like that for 20 minutes and he wouldn't answer. I think he killed himself.
Did you at some point you recall asking her if there was an Amber Alert?
Yes.
Now, July 13th, 2014, 10:36 a.m., please, the following morning. Can you read that, please?
I'm going to help look for him. His mom just called me panicking.
Did you know at that point, based on your observations and or conversations with Michelle Carter, whether or not she had a license to drive?
I don't believe she had a license.
At that point now, after the 13th, and if you could just read one more, please. Do you recall getting a text message at 7:04 p.m. from her?
Yes.
What does that say?
He's dead. He committed suicide.
So I want to stop right here real quick to make sure that you heard that correctly. Days prior to Conrad's suicide, Michelle texted her friend and told her that Conrad was missing and that she thinks he killed himself. Then, the night that he actually did kill himself, and the night that she was on the phone with him while he did so, she texted her friend again and said that she heard him kill himself. Here is Lexi again, talking about more text messages that she received from Michelle after Conrad's death.
You could go now to July 21st, 2014, 6:41 p.m. Could you read that one for me, please?
I'm going to Conrad's tomorrow to go through some of his things with his mom and to get a suicide letter that he wrote to me. I know Sam wants to see it and stuff, so maybe we can do something Thursday if you're free, or Friday.
Do you recall getting that?
Yes.
And after Ms. Carter asked you to accompany her to pick up a suicide note, did you do that?
I did not.
Why not?
I didn't want to.
And if you could go down, please, to 7/21/2014, 7:11 p.m. Could you read that for me, please, from Ms. Carter?
Okay, awesome. And yeah, he did, and only one for me. His mom found it.
And did you respond to that at 7:30?
Yes.
What'd you say?
I said, that's amazing.
And did she respond back to you at 7:33?
Yes.
Could you read that for me, please?
Yeah, it just means so much to me to know that I was that special to him. His mom said I was the most important person in his life. If you want to read it when I get it, you can. You and Sam are the only people I want to read it.
Did you want to read the suicide note?
I don't think I really cared too much.
Drawing your attention back a little bit before the school year started in August of 2014, August 2014, 8:48 p.m. Do you recall around that time getting a text message about Conrad?
Yes.
Could you please read that text message for us?
Thank you. So I've just been having really emotional and difficult nights. The nighttime is when all the thoughts of Conrad come. Like, I think about him in the day too, but nighttime was like our time where we would stay up until 2 a.m. Talking. And I just feel so alone without him, and I text him, but he never replies. And I have all these flashback thoughts of when I was talking to him on the phone when he killed himself, and I just think about hearing his cries, and I just panic and have like panic attacks from it. Every time I see a car alone in a parking lot, I get freaked out and anxious because I feel like they're using carbon monoxide to do the same thing, and I can't be left alone in a car or I'll lose control.
Do you recall getting this text message? Could you please read it for us?
Hey, I put the homers for Conrad on Facebook. I'm like famous now. Haha, check it out.
Did you check it out?
Yes.
And what'd you see?
I believe it was a Facebook page for the event.
And did you go to the event?
I did not.
Michelle's friend Sam was the next witness for the prosecution. She met Michelle in high school, and in the spring of 2014, she and Michelle started texting each other. Michelle reached out to her first. Michelle needed help with her eating disorder, and Sam would help her with what she was eating. Sam said she didn't want to get too involved with it, but that she tried to make sure that Michelle at least ate breakfast. She said Michelle texted her lengthy text messages and would continuously text her until she responded. In some texts, Michelle talked about how she had no friends and how she always had to ask people to hang out and that they never asked her. She told Sam that she was grateful for her friendship. Sam echoed Lexi's testimony about how Michelle would constantly ask them to hang out, but how they were busy, so they never really did. She said she didn't know anything about Conrad, only vaguely remembering that Michelle had a friend who didn't live by her. Sam said that she spent the night at Michelle's house in early July, after Michelle kept asking her and Lexi to hang out. Then, on July 10th, Michelle texted her and thanked her for sleeping over, saying that she wanted to hang out more. Sam responded that they had fun too and that they could hang out again, no problem. Later that day, on July 10th, Michelle texted Sam again and wrote, "He's missing, like they don't know where he is." Sam asked if she was talking about Conrad, and Michelle said yes, and that she texted his mom because she was getting really worried, saying that he always texted her in the morning and that he didn't that day. She said Conrad's mom told her that they had been looking for him for the past few hours and couldn't find him. So essentially, Michelle was texting Sam in the days prior to Conrad's death too, telling her that Conrad was missing when he wasn't, yet. Michelle texted Sam again a couple hours later, saying that he still hadn't been found yet and that he had talked about getting a generator from his work, and she was afraid that he was going to kill himself with it. Now, this next part wasn't presented in court. However, it is in the text messages that were entered into evidence. At the same time that she was texting Sam that Conrad was missing on July 10th, she was also texting Conrad, who, remember, was still alive, and they discussed how to fix the broken generator that he had taken from his father's storage area. He had been planning on using that generator to kill himself. The next day, on July 11th, Michelle texted Sam again, still pretending that Conrad was missing. She wrote, "I know I can't help him no matter how many times I try, but I could have prevented him from being missing, which could end up being his death." And yet, just prior to that text message, she had texted Conrad, telling him to be careful not to wake up his mother when he snuck out of her house on his way to commit suicide. Then the next night, July 12th, the night that Conrad actually went through with it and did kill himself, Michelle texted Sam again at 8:02 p.m., just 3 minutes after she had hung up with Conrad for the last time.
I'm going to ask you to read that text message, please, aloud.
"Sam, he just called me and there was a loud noise like a motor and I heard moaning like someone was in pain and he wouldn't answer when I said his name. I stayed on the phone for like 20 minutes and that's all I heard."
Now, do you recall if you got that text message right away, Sam?
No, I didn't read that until after my shift.
And then that 7/12/2014, that's at 8:02. At 8:25, does Michelle Carter send you now another text that you received later on that night?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
I think he just killed himself.
Now, the next day, 7/13/2014, do you reach out to her at 1:36 p.m. about why you didn't respond to her text message about that he killed himself? Do you say something to her? 10/13/2014, 1:36 p.m.
Yes.
And do you say something about not being able to answer?
Yes.
Now, later on that day, 7/13/2014, at 3:35 p.m., do you get a message from Michelle Carter?
Yes.
What does she ask you?
"Can we do something tonight to get my mind off of it?"
So on the 12th, the night of the 12th, she texts you that she believes that she was listening to Conrad and that he killed himself, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll allow it.
You then get that message later on that night or early the next morning, is that right?
Yes.
And then the next day, she asks you if you want to hang out.
Yes.
July 14, 2014, 10:39 a.m. Could you please read that text message, Sam?
"I don't know how I'm supposed to get through this. I can't function. I haven't eaten. I just completely shut down. I do blame myself. It's my fault. I was talking to him while he killed himself. I heard him crying in pain. I should have known. I should have did something."
On July 21st, Michelle sent another message to Sam that said, "I just got off the phone with Conrad's mom about 20 minutes ago, and she told me that detectives had to come go through his things and stuff. It's something they have to do with suicides and homicides, and she said they have to go through his phone and see if anyone encouraged him to do it on text and stuff. Sam, they read my messages with him. I'm done. His family will hate me, and I can go to jail." Sam responded that police probably wouldn't tell Conrad's family about Michelle encouraging him unless it was like really bad bullying. Michelle responded that she hopes the cops don't see it that way. Michelle continued to text Sam about Conrad's death into the fall months. On September 15th, Michelle texted her something extremely disturbing. She wrote, in part, "Sam, his death is my fault. Like, honestly, I could have stopped it. I was the one on the phone with him, and he got out of the car because it was working, and he got scared. And I fucking told him to get back in, Sam, because I knew he would do it all over again the next day, and I couldn't have him live that way, the way he was living anymore. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't let him." So, in this text exchange with Sam, Michelle just revealed that while she was on the phone with Conrad, he actually got out of the car because it was working, and he was scared. And she told him to get back in. The Commonwealth's next witness was Fairhaven Police Detective Scott Gordon, who testified about Conrad's phone. He said that when they unlocked the phone using Conrad's password they got from his father, the only text message conversation thread on the phone was a conversation between Conrad and Michelle Carter. Detective Gordon read some of those messages and then contacted the district attorney's office so they could have the phone extracted. The phone was handed over to the state police to forensically examine the phone, including pulling up items that had been deleted. Based on the text messages, Detective Gordon felt that they needed to investigate the relationship between Conrad and Michelle further. He conducted interviews about Michelle with the Roy family, with Conrad's best friend Thomas Gamble, and he examined the computers that Conrad had access to. He said he learned about the Homers for Conrad event from Conrad's dad, and another detective was tasked with going to the event. Detective Gordon said he interviewed some of Michelle's friends too, mostly at the high school. Prior to the Homers for Conrad event, Detective Gordon said he had not yet told the Roy family about what he had discovered on Conrad's phone. In October 2014, Detective Gordon obtained a search warrant for Michelle's phone and computer. He and another detective went to the high school and spoke with Michelle. Her father was waiting outside, and so they accompanied Michelle and her father to their home. Detective Gordon took Michelle's phone and laptop so they could be forensically analyzed. After analyzing the phone and speaking to witnesses in the case, he then applied for an arrest warrant. The court then took a recess while the judge and attorneys went to view the scene at the Kmart parking lot. The next prosecution witness was State Trooper Brock Morissette. He had specialized training in analyzing cell phones, and he was able to track the location of Conrad's phone using data from July 12th and July 13th. Morissette testified that at 6:28 p.m. on the night of July 12th, there was a phone call from Conrad to Michelle that lasted for 42 minutes. Then at 7:12 p.m., Conrad called Michelle, but she didn't answer. A couple seconds later, he tried again, and this time they talked for 46 minutes. After that call ended at 7:59 p.m., Conrad's phone never made another outgoing call, answered an incoming call, or sent any text messages ever again. Michelle called Conrad's phone back about a dozen more times that night, but there was no answer. And then, as we know from earlier, as she's calling him back, she was also texting Sam to tell her that she heard Conrad kill himself. Dr. Farrell Sandler, the medical examiner who performed Conrad's autopsy, testified next. She said Conrad's skin was cherry-colored, which immediately made her suspicious of carbon monoxide poisoning, so she ordered additional tests. She told the court that there are small amounts of carbon monoxide in everyone, but normal levels are about 1 to 3%. Conrad's levels were 71%. Dr. Sandler described the effects of carbon monoxide poisoning. At about 1 to 2 minutes, you'd start coughing, which would then become more and more severe and include retching at about 5 minutes. At about 13 minutes in, you'd become unconscious, and at about 20 minutes, your breathing would stop. She testified that there were no illicit drugs or alcohol found in Conrad's system, and there was no accurate way to determine his time of death. The next witness was Massachusetts State Police Sergeant Michael Bates, who testified about the information pulled from Conrad and Michelle's phones and computers. He found a video on the computer that was recorded by Conrad Roy on June 13, 2014. The video was entered into evidence in court. In this portion of the video, Conrad seems almost hopeful and optimistic about his future, saying that he knows he has a lot going for him.
The sooner I like myself, the better I'm going to be. Like, I have a lot going. I do have a lot going for me. Like, I'm like a fucking captain. I just got a job from the Boston Duck Tours to captain their boat. Like, that's a huge accomplishment. To be a captain. Listen. You just have to get the cobwebs out. Turn the gears. The gears need to be turning. Turn them gears. That's what I gotta do.
And then the Commonwealth rested. The defense then filed a motion to dismiss, citing insufficient evidence that Conrad would not have taken his own life without Michelle's involvement. They also claimed that the prosecution failed to prove that Michelle, who was only 17 at the time, would know the danger of her words. In response, prosecutor Katie Rayburn argued that the fact that it was a texting relationship shouldn't diminish the seriousness of the relationship. Most of Michelle's relationships were through texting. She said that Michelle first used words of love combined with words of don't kill yourself. And then as time went on, she started using words of love combined with words of kill yourself in order to influence him. She called Michelle's behavior reckless. She pointed out that their last call was 46 minutes long, and that it doesn't take 46 minutes to die from carbon monoxide poisoning, as we heard from Dr. Sandler's testimony. But when you open up the door and the air comes in, you have to start all over again. Rayburn pointed out that Michelle had told Sam that he got out of the car and that she told him to get back in, which is consistent with the timeline because it doesn't take 46 minutes to die. After a brief recess, the judge denied the defense's motion, and so they began their case. The defense's first witness was Mattapoisett police officer Justin King, who testified about an incident in February 2014 involving the Roy family. On February 19, 2014, he responded to the home for a call of an assault. An ambulance had arrived at the home, and Conrad Roy III was in the back of the ambulance getting treated. His face was swollen and red, and he had some lacerations to his face. Officer King obtained a statement from Conrad, which was admitted into evidence. However, the judge sustained the prosecution's objection, so the content was not revealed. Officer Andrew Quinton testified next. He was one of the officers on the scene when Conrad was found dead in his truck. He testified that the Kmart parking lot was busy, people walking around and vehicles driving in and out. The third witness was Stephen Verano, who's the president of a multimedia forensic services company. His company processed the computers and cell phones belonging to Conrad and Michelle in this case. He testified that he was able to determine that Conrad's computer had accessed articles with titles such as "I want to kill myself" and "painless suicide," and also included Google searches for things like "suicide by cop" and "ways to kill yourself." He said he did not find any suicide references on Michelle's computer. Officer Dennis Tavares with the Mattapoisett Police Department testified next. He elaborated on the assault incident involving the Roy family in February 2014. He said he arrived at the Roy home and interviewed Conrad's father and his girlfriend. He said Conrad Roy III had dried blood and abrasions on his face. Conrad's father was arrested for domestic assault and battery. The final witness for the defense was Dr. Peter Breggin, who was brought in to testify about the effects of psychiatric drugs, particularly SSRI antidepressants. SSRIs work by correcting the distribution of serotonin throughout the brain. Dr. Breggin said that people who are depressed often lack serotonin. He told the court that in adolescence, SSRIs can disrupt frontal lobe function, which is responsible for judgment, impulse control, love, empathy, and future consequences. He said that Celexa, for example, has a warning which says that there's an increased risk in suicide. Dr. Breggin said he reviewed Conrad and Michelle's medical records, and he said that both of them may have been taking Celexa. Dr. Breggin described Michelle as antisocial, defiant, quick to anger, a very vulnerable person, and struggling with depression. He said she was put on Prozac between 2011 and 2013 when she was just 14. And then she was put on Celexa in 2014, where over the course of the year, her dosage doubled. Dr. Breggin looked at the Facebook Messenger chats between Michelle and Conrad, saying that Michelle was a helper and that Conrad telling her that he was going to kill himself upset her, and so she urged him to get a new psychiatrist. He said he believes that she wanted to help him and got increasingly frustrated by his threats to kill himself. He said that Conrad was actually the dominant one in the relationship and that he coerced Michelle into supporting his plan to kill himself. Dr. Breggin said that in July 2014, Michelle was involuntarily intoxicated by her medications and that she was psychotic, deluded, and out of touch when she encouraged Conrad to kill himself. On cross-examination, Prosecutor Rayburn attacked the idea that Michelle was psychotic.
And you would agree with me at the time, between July 2nd and July 12th, 2014, the defendant was going to camp, correct?
Yes.
Okay. She was interacting with friends at times, correct?
Yes.
She, in fact, had a sleepover a few days before Conrad died.
Yes.
Okay. She's able to go about her day. She's seeking therapy and talking to her therapist, correct?
Yes.
And you're telling us now, testifying during all that time, she was psychotic.
Well, she had a delusion about her relationship.
My question is, are you testifying that during that time, when she's able to do all of those things, she is psychotic?
Well, she's psychotic and that she's harboring a psychotic.
I'm not trying to interrupt you, sir. That's just a yes or no. Is it your opinion that during that time frame when she was able to do all of those things, that she was psychotic?
Yes, there's a psychotic delusion.
Well, your testimony was she was psychotic yesterday.
Yeah, I'm talking about the delusion.
Those are two different things, sir. You would agree with me. Delusions can be part of psychosis, but psychosis is an independent term, correct?
No, delusions are psychotic.
You can have delusions and not be psychotic, can't you, sir? They're not.
Not by the definition that I've worked with for 50 years. When you have delusions, that's a psychosis.
So during this time frame, she's able to do all those things, and in your opinion, she was psychotic during this time.
All the time.
Rayburn also brought up the fact that in March, Dr. Breggin had diagnosed Michelle as mentally stable, but just a few weeks prior to trial, he changed his diagnosis. Dr. Breggin said that he reviewed more messages and talked to more people close to Michelle, which changed his opinion. After Dr. Breggin's testimony, the defense rested, without calling Michelle to the stand. In their closing arguments, defense attorney Cataldo said, "What we're dealing with is a suicide and not a homicide." He said that the prosecution failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Michelle Carter, a 17-year-old female, caused the death by her reckless conduct. He said instead, the evidence established that Conrad Roy caused his own death. He dragged Michelle Carter into this, Cataldo said, and cited one of Conrad's texts to Michelle, where he asked if he was selfish for wanting to kill himself and for dragging her into it. There was a long and contentious plan by Conrad to take his own life, and it's well documented, he told the court. He said that Conrad was dealing with daily intrusive thoughts, as well as domestic violence. He also said that Conrad was using Michelle to carry out his plan, and that he didn't bring up his suicidal thoughts in June of 2014 to his family on purpose to avoid hospitalization because he had a plan. He created this situation, Your Honor, Cataldo told the judge, not her. He said Conrad tried to kill himself numerous times, tried drowning himself, and tried taking too many pills. His medical records speak for themselves and give a long history of wanting to end his own life. He pointed out another text message Conrad had sent to Michelle that read, "There's nothing that anyone can do for me that's going to make me want to live. It's very bad to hear, but I want to let you know that truthfully." He said that in late June, Conrad asked Michelle to do a Romeo and Juliet, knowing that Michelle also struggled with her own issues. He said his Google searches included suicide by cop, arsenic, cyanide, how to make your suicide look like an accident. He said in one text, Michelle asked him, "Why do you want to make your suicide look like an accident?" And he said, "Because I don't want anyone to feel guilty about it." Cataldo also brought up the text messages that Michelle had sent to friends before he had actually committed suicide. He said that Conrad had originally planned on committing suicide that day, but that the generator had broken down, and so she wasn't lying. He said Michelle thought she was doing the right thing, but took no physical steps to encourage him. Conrad knew what he was doing, and he made a choice to commit suicide, he said. He ended with another text that Conrad had sent to Michelle. "I don't want anyone to feel guilty about it. There's nothing anyone can do." Prosecutor Rayburn began her closing arguments reading off a text message too, the one from Michelle to her friend Sam, where she says that it was her fault and, quote, "I was on the phone with him and he got out of the car because it was working. And he got scared and I fucking told him to get back in, Sam." Rayburn said that Michelle created the harm when she told him to get back into the truck. She knew that he was scared, and she knew that at that moment he did not want to die. And she knew exactly what would happen when he got back into the truck, that he would die. And she wanted that to happen. That was her decision. Rayburn read another text from Michelle to her friend. "All I had to do was say I love you, don't do this, one more time, and he'd still be here." Rayburn said the evidence backs up Michelle's text and shows that Michelle did tell him to get back in the truck. Every time he came up with an excuse not to do it, she kicked his feet out from under him and told him that he needed to die, she said. It got to the point where Conrad was apologizing to her for not being dead yet, and that's the control she had over him. The Commonwealth agreed that for a period of time, Michelle was offering him support, but then she switched it around June 29th, 2014. She said that when Conrad asked her how she would feel if her sister committed suicide, she told him that she would get over it. Those were the lengths that she would go to get him to believe that killing himself was fine, Rayburn said. She spoke for his family and said that they would be fine. Rayburn pointed out the 42-minute and 46-minute calls during the event, saying that those corroborated Michelle's own words when she said she told him to get back into the car. She was talking him into it, she said. She said that in 2012, when he attempted suicide by taking too many pills, he called a friend and got help. She said domestic violence may have happened, but at the end of the day, Conrad loved his family and wanted to live for them. She said when he was in the truck, it wasn't about his father or anyone else but Michelle, telling him to get back inside. Rayburn said she did it because she was desperate for attention. She sent lengthy text messages to people and wanted to hang out with them, but she ended up pushing them all away. On the night of the suicide, the last call between Conrad and Michelle, the last time Conrad's phone is ever used, ends at 7:59 p.m. Rayburn said that she would suggest that Conrad died during that phone call. And just 3 minutes later, at 8:03 p.m., Michelle texted Sam that she thinks Conrad died. And at 8:37 p.m., she texted a young man named Mason, someone Rayburn said that she clearly had a romantic interest in. Her text said, I can't. I think my friend just committed suicide. Rayburn pointed out that to every other person, Michelle was saying boyfriend and love of her life, but to Mason, she used the term friend. Rayburn called the texts to Michelle's friends on July 10th and 11th before he died a dry run to gauge their reactions. So why did Conrad have to die on July 12th? Rayburn said that's because Michelle had already told people that he was missing. Rayburn told the judge that it's a new day and age, that phones we have now allow you to be virtually present. You can encourage someone to die via text, and you can commit a crime via text. Rayburn said that on July 4th, Michelle told Conrad to tag her in a tweet so that his last tweet would be about her, and so her friends would see it. Even back then, on July 4th, it's all about her friends seeing him give her a shout-out.
On July 2nd, I believe, Your Honor, they have a conversation about they're talking about suicide. He's talking about possibly being scared or something to that effect. And she stops him and says, "Am I your girlfriend?" He goes on to something else. "No, before you die, I need to know, am I your girlfriend?" Because she wants to be able to call herself that. After he's dead and all her friends come running, which they in fact do, she needs to be able to say, "I was his girlfriend. Look at me, I lost my boyfriend." And that's reflected in the suicide note. She asked for the suicide note, Your Honor. Defense counsel makes much of that he wrote this loving suicide note. She asked him to. And then afterwards pretends like she wasn't expecting it. She texts her friends, "Oh my God, he left me a note. His mother said I was the most important person in his life. He only left me a note." She texts that to Sam, Lexi, and possibly others. Why would she say that? She wants their attention. She wants to feel like she was the one, that they were, going to be together forever. Poor her. Her boyfriend died. They were going to get married one day, and now she's the grieving girlfriend.
Rayburn concluded her arguments with, she absolutely knew what she was doing. She absolutely knew that it was wrong. And she absolutely caused the death of this 18-year-old boy, and I ask that you find her guilty. Judge Moniz deliberated and then announced his verdict.
This court first finds that the Commonwealth has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that the actions taken by Ms. Carter as to the period from June 30th to July 12th constituted wanton and reckless conduct by her in disregard and serious disregard of the well-being of Mr. Roy. The Commonwealth has not proven as to that time period that said reckless or wanton behavior caused the death of Mr. Roy. It is apparent to this court in reviewing the evidence that Mr. Roy was struggling with his issues and seeing a way to address them, and took significant actions of his own toward that end. His research was extensive. He spoke of it continually. He secured the generator. He secured the water pump. He researched how to fix the generator. He located his vehicle in an unnoticeable area and commenced his attempt by starting the pump. However, he breaks that chain of self-causation by exiting the vehicle. He takes himself out of the toxic environment that it has become. This is completely consistent with his earlier attempts at suicide. That Mr. Roy may have tried and maybe succeeded another time after July 12th or 13th of 2014 is of no consequence to this court's deliberations. When Ms. Carter realizes that Mr. Roy has exited the truck, she instructs him to get back into the truck. which she has reason to know is or is becoming a toxic environment inconsistent with human life. This court finds that instructing Mr. Roy to get back in the truck constituted wanton and reckless conduct by Ms. Carter, creating a situation where there is a high degree of likelihood that substantial harm would result to Mr. Roy. Ms. Carter knows, through her own admission, that Mr. Roy has followed her instruction. As she indicates in various text messages subsequently created to some of her friends, she indicates that she can hear him coughing and she can hear the loud noise of the motor. She admits in a subsequent text that she did nothing. She did not call the police or Mr. Roy's family. She knew his location, again, according to a text that she sent, as being at the Kmart Plaza. She did not notify his mother or his sister. She called no one. And finally, she did not issue a simple additional instruction: get out of the truck. Consequently, this court has found that the Commonwealth has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Ms. Carter's actions and also her failure to act where she had a self-created duty to Mr. Roy, since she had put him into that toxic environment, constituted each and all wanton and reckless conduct. And this court further finds that the Commonwealth has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that said conduct caused the death of Mr. Roy. Ms. Carter, please stand. This court, having reviewed the evidence and applied the law thereto, now finds you guilty on the indictment charging you with the involuntary manslaughter of the person Conrad Roy III.
Guilty of involuntary manslaughter. Michelle cried as the verdict was read. The judge ruled that Michelle could remain out on bail until her sentencing hearing, which is scheduled for August 3rd, 2017. With the verdict in this case came many different reactions, including legal ones, with many legal experts expressing caution at the precedent that this verdict may have set for future cases. So I reached out to Daniel Medwed, a law professor at Northeastern University in Boston. So can you, just to kind of get down to the basics, can you explain the difference between voluntary manslaughter and involuntary manslaughter?
Sure. Voluntary manslaughter is the classic heat of passion crime, where somebody intentionally kills another person, which would be murder, not manslaughter. But if it occurs through provocation, through the heat of passion, then it's mitigated down to voluntary manslaughter. So the classic case, you come home to find your spouse in the arms of somebody else, and you shoot your spouse or you shoot the other person. That is a classic voluntary manslaughter case. You acted intentionally, but because of the frailties of the human condition, it's mitigated. It's understandable that you might be acting in hot blood. You're a manslayer, not a murderer, so to speak. Involuntary manslaughter is different. So voluntary manslaughter is intentional homicide mitigated by provocative circumstances. You have been provoked. It's not self-defense, but you've been provoked by what you experienced. Involuntary manslaughter is something else. Involuntary manslaughter does not involve intentional action. You don't intend to kill someone. Instead, and it varies a little bit from state to state, instead it typically involves reckless conduct. Classic involuntary manslaughter, a drunk driver gets behind the wheel and plows into a pedestrian, killing that person. You're not acting intentionally, by killing that person, but you've acted recklessly, which is often defined as consciously disregarding a substantial and unjustifiable risk. And when you get behind the wheel while you're drunk, you're consciously disregarding a substantial and unjustifiable risk that you might harm someone. So that's the basic difference. Voluntary manslaughter is intentional action mitigated by provocation. Involuntary manslaughter is not intentional, but typically reckless conduct. In Massachusetts, and this is where it relates to Michelle Carter, it's reckless and wanton conduct, really reckless conduct. If you consciously disregard a substantial and unjustifiable risk and it causes someone's death, then that's involuntary manslaughter. And the prosecution's theory here was that Michelle Carter's barrage of text messages consciously disregarded the substantial and unjustifiable risk that it would provoke or prompt Conrad Roy into killing himself. In a sense, unlike the drunk driver example, the words were the weapon. Instead of a car or a gun, the prosecution's theory, the text messages were essentially the means of killing him.
Gotcha. Okay. And then there was another question I had just kind of before we get into it, but Michelle Carter was 17 years old at the time of that this all went on. Do you know why she wasn't charged as a juvenile?
Great question, Jillian. So in Massachusetts, like in a decent number of states, about 25 years ago, the legislature passed some tough on crime legislation. And in Massachusetts, it's known as the youthful offender laws. And for certain serious crimes committed by juveniles, you can be subjected to enhanced penalties, almost adult-like sentences. So that's what happened with Michelle Carter. Prosecutors basically gave her youthful offender status in Massachusetts. They were charging her with manslaughter, which meant that she was eligible to be charged as a youthful offender. One way of thinking about it is that youthful offender is a little bit in between adult and juvenile. The upshot is, Jillian, that she is facing up to 20 years in prison for this crime. Whereas if she were a juvenile, I'm not exactly sure of the precise sentence just because I'm not aware of it offhand, it would be much less, presumably.
So why do you think that the judge convicted Michelle of involuntary manslaughter?
Well, that's the biggest question here.
Right.
Two reasons, I think. First and foremost, her behavior was undeniably despicable. Right. Absolutely abhorrent. The barrage of text messages that encouraged Conrad Roy to kill himself, including that pivotal message where she said, "Get back in the car," when he was beginning to show doubts. I think for those of us who watched the trial closely, it was hard not to react viscerally to her and to feel as though she was worthy of blame. So that might be one part of it, this sense from the judge that she really deserved punishment, and to send a message to the world that cyberbullying of this nature or the use of text messaging in this way will not be tolerated in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So that's really the first piece of it. The second piece of it, Jillian, is this. Unlike about 40 other states, Massachusetts doesn't have a specific crime of encouraging suicide. Most states have some law that makes it a crime to assist or encourage or coerce someone else to commit suicide. And maybe it's a lower level felony than manslaughter. Massachusetts simply doesn't have that law on the books. And what that meant was that prosecutors were in a bit of a bind in choosing how to charge this case. They could have aimed pretty low, charged her with something like harassment or reckless endangerment, or they could have aimed high, as they ultimately chose to do by pursuing manslaughter charges. So I think the second reason the judge did this is essentially this was the charge that he was confronted with. If Massachusetts had one of those encouraging suicide laws, I'm not sure that whether this case would have generated as much national attention, and maybe that would have been the appropriate charge for her. Because when you look at this case, that's really what she did. She encouraged, perhaps coerced someone into committing suicide. I'm not so sure that it was manslaughter.
Interesting. So I didn't know that. So do you think that the results of this case may encourage a law like that to be passed in Massachusetts?
Absolutely. I speculate without any foundation to my speculation. I think that the Massachusetts legislature will pass a law prohibiting the encouraging or maybe assisting of suicide. Of course, this whole issue is controversial because of the mercy killing situation. People have very mixed views on whether it's acceptable for you to help somebody who's in the throes of a terminal illness, maybe dying of cancer, or someone who's elderly, whether it should be made a crime to assist that person to die with dignity, to die as painlessly as possible. So, and I'm just speculating here, one of the reasons I imagine why Massachusetts hasn't come up with a law is perhaps some ambivalence about the idea of criminalizing assisted suicide. But I think there could be and there should be a special crime for encouraging or coercing suicide, regardless of what one's views are on the whole issue of assisting suicide. And I realize that those views run the gamut. Everyone has different opinions on that. I think there probably is a strong consensus around the idea that it's inappropriate to encourage or coerce someone else to commit suicide, that goes beyond any type of mercy-killing, magnanimous motive. So I do think Massachusetts will pass a law in the short term.
Very interesting.
In the near future.
And didn't even the judge say in his ruling that there were things that she could have said but didn't? So it wasn't about necessarily just everything that she did say, which was obviously awful, but she also did not say, she did not tell him to get help instead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in general, this is a really interesting aspect of our society. There's generally not a duty to act. There are some Good Samaritan laws out there, but unless you have a special relationship like parent-child, you often don't have a duty to act unless there's some specific law that says you should, right?
Right.
So what made this different was that she created the situation, or she helped put him in this situation. And at that point, according to the judge, after she had set the wheels in motion and helped him research how to die by carbon monoxide poisoning, at that point, because she had helped to create this situation, she owed him a duty to help. And that's one of the reasons why I think the judge added that language about you could have done this, you should have done this, you could have stopped this situation. And I'm not sure whether that would apply in other more generic situations, if you happen to know that your friend's suicidal. What made this unique was that she was involved in creating the situation somehow through her assistance.
Right. Now, on the flip side of this, I know, there's been kind of legal experts, like all over the place in articles and things like that, kind of talking about the different sides of this. So I know that there's a lot of people who are arguing, and especially like the ACLU, for example, that she should have been protected under the First Amendment because they were words. And I think a lot of people might be worried about what this case means if it sets a precedent for the First Amendment going forward. And I just wanted to know what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, those are all great questions. So here are my thoughts. First of all, I think what she did was the crime of encouraging suicide, which Massachusetts doesn't have. That was the problem. I agree with some of the critics that manslaughter was a stretch. Manslaughter was an overreach. And I am concerned about this as a possible precedent that could embolden other prosecutors to charge people for manslaughter. Instead, I think that this should be a separate crime, the crime of encouraging or coercing someone into committing suicide. But with respect to your very good question, Jillian, the First Amendment, here are my thoughts. First, the First Amendment protects most speech, but not all speech. Fighting words, obscenity, there are certain categories of speech that aren't necessarily subject to full protection. If you were to scream fire in a crowded movie theater when there was no fire and it resulted in a stampede and people died, could that not be the basis for a reckless or involuntary manslaughter charge? I think so. So I think certain types of speech could potentially result in crimes. And the reason why I think this speech didn't necessarily deserve First Amendment protection is that she also provided technical assistance with her speech by directing him to information about carbon monoxide poisoning. And in a sense, what she did was the 21st century equivalent of handing over an instruction manual to somebody. Had she handed over an instruction manual, here's how you die by carbon monoxide poisoning, I think we'd all agree that's more than speech, that's something else, that's assistance. So I think to an extent she did provide a little bit more than speech. But that said, there is a slippery slope concern. What about other less egregious cases? Will people now become more reticent to show empathy to their friends who are suicidal for fear that if they listen and they show compassion and they show empathy, that maybe if that person does choose to commit suicide, they could be facing criminal charges? In other words, criminal law experts will talk about the chilling effect of this decision. Is it going to chill certain types of communications? Now, the other side of that is, the positive side is, will it chill abusive behavior that could prompt other people to commit suicide? And perhaps on the margins, as controversial as this case is, perhaps on the margins, it will save a few lives, right? It might deter people with tendencies like Michelle Carter's to think twice. Right. Maybe.
Definitely. So do you obviously, I mean, not obviously, but I'm sure it's very likely that they're going to file an appeal. Do you see anything that might make for a good argument for her appeal?
Yes, I think there are a couple of arguments, but the best one is on the element of causation. So prosecutors had to prove beyond a reasonable doubt not only that Michelle Carter acted recklessly, that she consciously disregarded a substantial and unjustifiable risk, but that behavior caused Conrad Roy's death. And a very strong argument for the defense throughout is that Conrad Roy's independent decision to kill himself was an intervening factor that broke the chain of causation. In other words, she didn't, according to the defense, cause his death. She played a role in encouraging him, but ultimately he caused his own death by choosing to commit suicide. So I think on appeal, the defense is going to argue prosecution did not prove causation beyond a reasonable doubt. In many respects, that's the Achilles heel of this case from the prosecution's perspective. When she's two steps removed from the death, was she actually the cause? In criminal law vernacular, it's was she the proximate cause that led to his death? And I think there's a pretty good argument on appeal to say that she wasn't.
And then lastly, and this is just up to you, where can people find you? Like, do you want to give out like a Twitter handle or a website?
I would love that. I would love that. That'd be great. So Twitter is probably best.
Okay.
And it's just at Daniel Medwed.
That's at DANIEL Medwed, MEDWED. We'll find out what Michelle's sentencing will be at her hearing in August. She could get up to 20 years in prison, or she could get probation. And meanwhile, no one will ever truly know if Conrad Roy III would have gone on to live his life had it not been for those fateful conversations with Michelle. If you or anyone you know is considering suicide, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255 or visit suicidepreventionlifeline.org. And now I want to close this episode with more of Conrad's own words.
This is Conrad Henry Roy III reporting about social anxiety. Social anxiety to me is the inability to function properly in a manner that you want to in social situations. And one of the things that I've realized is not all eyes are on you at all times. People don't necessarily judge you particularly. in a situation where you're not feeling very good about yourself, you're making mistakes, like, people understand. Like, you come across as awkward, they're not going to judge you and make fun of you. Like, that's just who you are as an individual. And the quicker you are to realize who you are, the better. Like, you don't have to be this amazing, like, thought out, drawn out, like, superhero, like Incredible Hulk, Superman, I don't know, the people that are portrayed in the media as like perfect, when they're not perfect. I mean, if you take drugs, serious cocaine, like Bieber, oh my God, he's not perfect. Nobody's perfect. You just have to accept yourself as an individual. The hardest thing for me is to be comfortable in my own skin.
And that's all for this episode. A special thank you to Daniel Medwed for answering the legal questions I had, and a special thank you to Kelly for helping me with the research for this case. If you have any case suggestions, please feel free to email me at podcast@courtjunkie.com, or you can tweet me at courtjunkiepod, or follow me on Instagram @courtjunkie. As a reminder, please consider joining our Facebook discussion group at courtjunkie.com/Facebook, where there are now over 3,500 court junkies discussing cases just like this one. And if you'd like to support this podcast by donating, you can donate as little as $1 a month by going to courtjunkie.com/support. That will link you to my Patreon page, where you can get access to early, ad-free episodes. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.